Welcome to the second Purpose Serve podcast. I'm your host Darren Wingfield, and today I think it's gonna be a pretty good episode. I want to talk about choices. That's the very first thing that I want to talk about. The reason why I'm bringing this up is pretty much you need to start maximizing the ability to make the right choice, and before you can even do that, you need to know where your destination is going to be. You need to set a goal for yourself. You know, that's how you going to determine the choices that you make. For example, if you have a goal to, I don't know, go to the gym 4 out of 5 times out of the week, out of 7 days. If you set that out for yourself and your goal is to get in shape, and you do that tomorrow when that time come to make a choice whether to go to the gym or not, and you know that's what you set for yourself, that destination, you're going to know what the choice to make is. And it's for you to make the right decision on going to the gym or not. But that's a really simple example, but that goes to show how simple choices are if you exercising them correctly. Now, for me, this was something that I wasn't good at all. And in fact, I was not a good decision maker. Literally, probably the worst decision maker. If I can go left, I would have went left with pretty much any and everything. And what I started to realize is once I was making choices like that, you know what I mean, hanging out all the time, partying all the time. But once I started making choices like that, it started to lead me down the line with I didn't really have much of a choice when it was all said and done to do the things that I really wanted to do because of the choices that I made to have a good time and for everybody else, I guess. But then once I started realizing that my choices started to get more and more slimmer, the more I started, living that life, I guess. But it started to leave me with no choices at all, and especially ones that none of them I pretty much liked until I had to, like I said in my previous podcast episode, that I had to start taking a step back and looking at the situation that I was in and start to realize where I went wrong, and then start to make the necessary decisions and choices from there to get me to where I gotta go. And for the most part, I believe that a lot of people don't have a destination for themselves. So with that being said, they're not going to necessarily have the right direction to make the right choices that they need to make. So that's why it's very important that if you're starting off on your journey, you need to know where you're going before you get there, so you know what choices that you have to make if need be when they have to come up, because choices are extremely important and people don't even know how powerful choices honestly are. Like, all choices, crazy enough, lies in this moment. Like, literally right now, they all lie in this moment right now. And this moment is the powerful moment, the most powerful moment, you know what I mean? Because the future don't exist and the past don't exist. This moment right now exists. The future never came and the past already happened. So with that being said, you got this moment right here, and these are the moments where choices are made, and this is where they work the best. And if you could exercise the ability of making the right choices over and over and over and over again, that's how you slowly start to build your success. You know what I mean? You have to know that making choices automatically comes with making sacrifices. And like for me, when it came down to me playing basketball and the necessary time that I knew I had to put in, I knew I had to block off my time to the point where if I set aside 2 hours out of my day to go and practice, that's a decision that I made to reach my end goal while I'm sitting here practicing. But with that being said, I made a choice in my head that this is what matters, and nothing else matters outside of what I'm doing now. And you're making choices whether you are conscious about it or not. You're making choices all day long. Like me even doing this podcast, I made a choice to do this podcast. Now I had a choice to not do it or do it, but I had to ask myself which one is more beneficial and which one is going to get me to the goal that I'm looking for, especially with this. And my goal is to help you guys, build self-initiative, define your purpose, and take action on your purpose. So it's easy to say no to certain things, but if it's regarding you and you being a higher version of yourself, don't ever say no to that. Don't ever say no to that. You got to answer that call. That call was made for you. Pick it up. It's for you. But when it comes to making choices and sacrifices, which go hand in hand with choices, because even with sacrifice, people don't understand that they sacrifice things all the time. They sacrifice their time. They sacrifice certain people, like when they work out, they sacrifice their body to reach a certain goal. So sacrifices go hand in hand with making choices, and sacrifice pretty much works the same way as choices. To me, it's no different. But sacrifice is such a much more harsh word than choices are. And for me, I realized yet again, like with the choices that I made, it inherently came with sacrifices that I had to choose to accept. You know what I mean? And ultimately, if you keep making the wrong decisions for yourself, you're gonna realize that you put yourself in a situation where you sacrifice things that you didn't even mean to sacrifice. And for me, with the choices that I made, it ultimately led me to losing everything multiple times due to the fact of me not making the right decisions, you know what I mean, and making the right choices to the person that I was truly meant to be. And later on down the line, once I realized that I made these choices which made me lose everything, then I had to look at that as a sacrifice as well. Because most people, I don't know, they look at sacrifice as if it is a choice, you know what I mean? But like I said, it go hand in hand, so I guess it is a choice. But people look at it as sacrifice is not a choice, but it is a choice. For me, I had to sacrifice a lot of time and effort once I realized the choices that I made wasn't constructive with who I really wanted to be. So, like I said earlier, I took a step back, look at the situation that I was in, knew the choices that I had to make, and I knew the necessary sacrifices that I had to implement in order for me to get to where I had to go. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's very, very, very difficult. I feel as though if people knew already how to be exactly who they wanted to be or do whatever it is that they want to do, they'll simply do it. But due to the fact that they don't know, why even go down that road? People for the most part don't even think that a lot of ideas that they have aren't possible, but you have to put them to the test. And with that being said, when you put things to the test, choices and sacrifice are going to come with it. When you start to make the necessary sacrifices that you have to, it is weird what starts to happen to you. You start to go. You start to feel more disciplined. You start to know what to say no to. You start to know who to hang out with. You start to know who to be around. And for the most part, people surround themselves who think just like them. People put themselves in like-minded environments. So if you're in a situation that you don't like, just take note of the people that surround you and take note of the environment that's around you, and that's going to tell you a whole lot about yourself. Because to me, that stuff is like you looking in the mirror, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, you have a choice to change it. It's that simple. If you don't like it and still choose to stick it out, that's on you. For the most part, if you're not the type of person that's not trying to grow and not trying to help people or anything, I'm not even going to lie, this podcast is not for you. I just got to be honest. Stagnation is something that can literally kill you, man. For real. Nothing stays the same, man. You either going backwards or you going forward. That's just the facts. You know what I mean? And I had to build up a crazy amount of discipline in order for me to learn the necessary things that I had to learn in order for me to be successful. And a lot of this stuff I hope that you guys are taking in, because this is something that's been dwelling on me for quite some time now. And it definitely feels good to start getting this stuff like outside of my head and like, getting this out there for y'all to hear. This is helping me, and I hope it's helping y'all, as well. And going back to discipline, people make discipline seem like it's such a difficult thing, which it is, but you don't have to make it a point to where you're being frustrated and annoyed because you think you gotta be like some square every single day. If you set the tone for your days the day before, it's going to make it easier to be disciplined if you already set out a plan to begin with. And that's why I'm gonna just keep putting the emphasis for those of you who don't have a direction. You need to set a destination for yourself. That got to be the first thing that you do if you are looking to achieve something of noteworthy success. You gotta first figure out what that's going to be. And once you figure out first what that's going to be, then everything else, weirdly enough, is going to fall in line for what you need to do and the information that you need to get and the people that you need to know when you're going down that alley. And I'm a type of person that I look for information all the time. I'm always looking for information. I think that people should have like a kid's curiosity. Like kids, I don't know, they learn quicker than adults. As crazy as that sound, but a kid can pretty much pick up and learn anything that you give them, but it just depends on what you give them. Somebody put something interesting on the forum. Whoever that was, thank you, I appreciate it. That made my day. But they said something about hold on, I can actually read it to y'all. It's pretty good. People tend to be in need in various ways, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, or financially. It's always important to help others when we can. If there was no issues financially, I would give equal amounts of food and clothes to everyone who needed it, leaving nobody short-handed. Emotionally, but more so mentally, I would teach the importance of care to the youth. That was a good one. That was a good one. But the one thing that I started doing was teaching myself, like I said, how to have a kid's curiosity. And don't ever be afraid to ask questions, especially if you're curious about something, even when it lines up to whatever it is that you're trying to do. It's more important in that aspect to ask as many questions as you possibly can, just to gather as much knowledge as you can, because that's going to help you know what you have to do. And everybody has a different way of achieving what their success is. Even everybody's successes are even different. Not everybody wants to be a millionaire. Not everybody wants a freaking mansion. But for me, for example, I am a basketball nerd. I watch games literally all day. I watch highlights all day, and I look at the nuances of the game. I like looking at how different eras like played basketball, different plays, different defense. This is something that wasn't taught to me. This is something that I learned myself. A lot of this stuff I learned myself from loving the game of basketball. First, and second, want to know all the details that I can gather. And with that being said, I've been able to put myself in a bunch of interesting situations because I'll do anything to get me where I have to go. No matter how difficult it is, no matter how tough the decision is, I don't care. You know what I mean? And I think that everybody should have that mindset. If you got that mindset, you're not really scared to fail. You only learn. Like, you literally only learn when you got that kind of mindset. And how can I put this? Messing up only creates growth. Don't be that person that it stunts your growth. Don't be that person. Don't be afraid to like fall flat on your face. Don't be that person. Just get up. Just get up. I was that person. I was that type of person, man. If I failed or messed up at anything, I'm most likely going to keep it to myself and pretend it never happened. But now I'm at the point where, to this day, I mess up all the time. But I learn from them. I learn from them pretty much almost every single time when I do mess up. And that keeps me in a growth mindset. And don't shy away from pressure situations as well, for those of you listening to this, because whatever it is that you truly want to do, it's not going to be easy to do. And in fact, you're gonna most likely experience every single emotion to get to wherever it is that you got to get to. I can single-handedly say that. I can personally say that from my experience that I've been through a lot to get whatever it is that I got to get. But what it taught me is that you care for it that much more when you've been through everything with it. You know what I mean? People could say that with like relationships, that, you know, partners and they made it through tough situations and stuff like that. It's the very same thing. You have to nurture your ideas. You got to treat it like a kid. You got to care for it. You just can't, I don't know, treat it like it's just a paper bag in the wind. You gotta care about what you're doing. You gotta really care about what you're doing. And if you truly care about what you're doing, you will know what choices to make and what choices not to make. And for me, once I was conscious about the choices that I was making and they were wrong, I instantly knew that I was making the wrong decisions, until I started straightening up and I started figuring out that, whoa, I'm messing up. And then after that, I just slowly but surely stop. It's not no overnight process. You have to grow with whatever it is that you're making, or like product or services that you're creating and making. You have to grow with it. Due diligence, man. I don't know. I think that's pretty much it today. You know what I mean? We got a short little podcast episode today. Today's homework assignment, I would love for you guys to do something that you never did before this week. Just put yourself in a situation where it's new to you. And then after that, see where it takes you. Serve your purpose. Try to figure out who that person that you was always destined to be. That's the goal. I love y'all. Y'all have a good one, man. I'm out.